Hello, Briar here. It's been a minute since the last time I've entered a contest, and what better way to come back into the game is to enter a contest hosted by the great Canadian Studmuffin, aka Larry Graves. So earlier this year, I entered a contest that he did, and I didn't win, but I'm over it. I'm not bitter about it. I don't think about it constantly. Sorry. But before I get into the contest itself, I do want to say a quick word. I can't remember if I said this in the last contest entry I did for him, but I do want to quickly say that Larry Graves has been a big influence on this channel. He's one of the reasons why I started CD Showcase to begin with. I've always enjoyed watching his calm demeanor, just talking about music, and he's pretty much through his channel I was exposed to music I probably wouldn't have gotten into. He showcased Gene Clark, No Other. I got into the Moody Blues more because of the CD exchange he did with Glenn Kellaway from the Basement. He got me into Sparks, and he also introduced me to a little bit of Midnight Oil because I he talked about Midnight Oil, and I asked him like what album I should get, and he recommended to me an album, and let me just quickly get it real quick. So let me get it. It was somewhere here. I'm not gonna make any cuts. I'm looking for it. It's somewhere here. There it is. Yeah, that's it. So it was this one that he recommended that I ended up getting, and I enjoy a lot. And I now have 3 Midnight Oil albums. So Larry Graves, thank you so much for the high quality entertainment. I know you've been going through a lot in terms of your personal life, and I know your channel was hacked not that long ago. But it's good that you're back in control, and hopefully you can keep giving us high quality entertainment for a long time. So again, thank you again. So let's get into the contest itself. So the whole theme of this contest, it's really about double albums, and kind of add on to that, it's basically create your own double album. So what Larry wants us to do is take 5 bands or solo artists and take 2 of their albums and combine them to make your own double album. So there are a couple of rules. First off, the albums have to sound somewhat similar, and they have to be released around the same time. Obviously, if a band released 2 albums in the same year, that's probably a good option, and that's pretty much what I did with my picks here. And of course, we get to name these albums. So that's actually the hardest part of this whole thing, was coming up with names, and I still think my names kind of suck, but I try, and hopefully they're decent enough. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first up, I am going with Deep Purple, and they released 2 albums in the year 1969, and those albums are The Book of Taliesin and Deep Purple. So obviously this is during the Mark I era, so you have Rod Evans on vocals, and I think they sound similar enough, though I think this one's just a tad heavier. But I think they still have a same feel or the same vibe. So when we're combining, we get to decide which one gets to be side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. But when you do mix the sides around, you can't mix the songs. Whatever placement that song is in the side, it cannot move. So because I have CDs, it's a bit more challenging because obviously they're CDs and they don't have sides. So to make it easier for myself, I decided to have 1 CD equal 2 sides. So say this would be side 1 and 2, this would be side 3 and 4, that sort of thing. So for this album, I'm gonna say I want Deep Purple to start. This will be side 1 and 2. And then Book of Taliesin will be sides 3 and 4. And what I decided to call this album is The Book of Deep Purple. And the reason why I picked that name is because their debut was Shades of Deep Purple, so kind of fitting in that sort of title scheme, if that's how you want to say it. So Shades of Deep Purple, Book of Deep Purple. Makes sense, taking the Book of Taliesin and just taking Deep Purple, putting them together. So that's the first one I'm going with. Next up, Uriah Heep. So they released 2 albums, and I believe these came out in 1971, if I'm not mistaken. I'll correct myself if I am, but I'm pretty confident. So they released Salisbury, right here, and they also released Look at Yourself. So for my money, I am going to start with Look at Yourself. Even though this is the 3rd album, I kind of like the title track being the first song. Kind of sets the whole tone. And the second reason is because I want Salisbury to be the album closer, which we all know is a epic song, one of my favorite songs of all time. And I'm not going to be too imaginative with this title. I kind of want to have it just be Look at Yourself, because it's striking in the original vinyl, which this CD doesn't do it justice, but if you look up pictures of the original album cover, it definitely does fit the title way better. And so that's the title of the album, just Look at Yourself, and the first song is the title track. So that's my second double album there. Okay, let's get to some more hard rock. We got Thin Lizzy. So they released 2 albums in '76. We have Jailbreak, and then we have Johnny the Fox. As you know, this is my favorite Thin Lizzy album. So this was actually a tough one to decide which will be the first half, and hopefully you don't hear a helicopter going overhead of my house here. So it was a tough choice, but I'm going to have the album start off with Johnny the Fox. So sides 1 and 2 will be this one right here, and then 3 and 4 will be Jailbreak. Mainly because I want Emerald to be the final song, because that's a pretty epic, even though it's only 4 minutes long, it's a pretty good hard rock number to finish the album out. So, and what I'm going to be calling this album, I'm going to call this album The Boys Are Back in Town. Of course, naming it off probably the most popular song. It makes sense, I think. So, that's the 3rd one. 2 more. So next up, let's go back to the 60s. We're going to 1965 with the Byrds. So we have their debut album, Mr. Tambourine Man, and then the second one, Turn, Turn, Turn. Another one that's kind of tough to kind of decide which one you want, that I wanted to start, but I decided to have it start with Turn, 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 because I think that's a good album starter. And then we'll have this one be sides 3 and 4, so sides 1 and 2, sides 3 and 4. And I decided to just name this album like Presenting the Byrds, just something, I know it sounds pretty generic, like I'm kind of basing it off other 60s debut albums, kind of like I believe in the United States, like the Beatles had it, like the US, the first album of the Beatles here in America was Introducing the Beatles, I believe. So kind of on that same plane. So that's the 4th one, and we have one more. Let's go for some Kansas. So some Kansas here. So they released 2 albums in 1975. They released Songs for America, and they released Mask right here. And I think to start the album, I'm going to have it start with the sides 1 and 2 will be from Songs in America, and sides 3 and 4 will be Mask, because the final song on this one is The Pinnacle, and I think that's a good closing track. And Down the Road is a good opening track. And again, not going to be too imaginative, so again, I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to call this album just Songs for America. So even though there's a song called Song for America, I think the whole album should be called Songs for America, so plural on the songs. So there you have it. That is all 5 of my entries. So again, thank you for watching, and of course, again, thank you, Larry Grace, for hosting this contest, and again, hopefully you'll keep making good content. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and goodbye for now.